Good evening. You're looking at something a little different this evening, and all will be explained. I'm Hugh Downs.
And I'm Barbara Walters. On a cold night in Red Square at the Kremlin in Moscow, we came here to do an exclusive interview with Boris Yeltsin, the president of Russia. You'll see that next week. A bit later, some scenes that I saw today. And this is 2020.
From ABC News, around the world and into your home, the stories that touch your life with Hugh Downs and Barbara Walters. This is 2020. Tonight, therapy for rapists. Terror for victims, but what about the rapists?
I never really cared what my victims felt, as long as I got what I wanted.
So once they're locked up, why should we care what happens to rapists?
Because most sex offenders eventually are going to get out of jail.
How do you keep them from striking again? This could be a way. Test rapists to see what gets them sexually aroused.
You can see that she is not wearing a bra.
How do they respond to violence towards women?
Grab her by the hair and pull her beside you.
What puts them over the edge? Can you change their thinking about women and sex?
As you can see, he became maximally aroused to audio tapes that depict humiliation and rape.
Tonight, an extraordinary two-part report. The search for new ways to stop sexual violence. Bob Brown puts you inside the mind of a rapist. And can your boss fire you for what you do at home? Daniel was fired for drinking at a party. Anne was fired for smoking in her car.
What are you doing at home right now? Anything the boss might not like?
Watch out. If your boss doesn't like how you spend your free time, you could be out on the street. John Stossel asks, is nothing private anymore? Those stories tonight, January 24th, 1992.
This is a time when anybody who has a job doesn't want to lose it. So you work hard, you follow the boss's rules, but when it's your time off, whose rules do you play by then? Does your boss have the right to dictate what you do on your own free time? Well, as John Stossel shows us tonight, the answer may be yes. And if this is how you spend your time off, you may soon have a lot more of it.
What do you do on your own time? You smoke? Drink? Eat too much junk food? Maybe you have an exciting hobby. Racing cars. Riding a motorcycle. If you do any of those things, watch out. It could cost you your job. It cost Janice Bone her job just because she smoked at home, away from the job. She was a payroll clerk at Ford Meter Box in Wabash, Indiana. When she was up for a promotion, the company told her she had to take a urine test.
When they tell me that I'm being terminated because of nicotine, I'm just very, very surprised and wonder, you know, what is this? What's going on here?
What's going on is that more companies are trying to save money by not employing people they think might get sick. Ford Meter Box wouldn't face the cameras about this, but off-camera explained that insurance costs were the main reason for the policy. Experts say that for each employee who smokes, corporations must pay about $300 more per year. Ford Meter started its no-smoker policy after Janice was already working there.
You know, I did a good job for these people. I liked my supervisors. They were happy with my work. You know, why would this company do this to me? I don't understand it.
Daniel Wynn of Elwood, Indiana, was fired from his job simply because he had a few drinks at a bachelor party. His employer, Bestlock Corporation, had a strict no-drinkers policy, and it found out that Daniel had had a drink.
If the person has a problem with drinking, he obviously needs help. If he doesn't have a problem, I still don't see why it would in any manner, you know, come between him and his job performance.
After an employee at this real estate company in Atlanta had a motorcycle accident, the company's insurance premiums went up 18%. So now the company forbids employees to take up any dangerous activity. They specifically list skydiving, mountain climbing, riding a motorcycle and driving a race car.
Now, lots of people, when they hear about this, say, isn't this illegal? Doesn't the Constitution give us a right to privacy? Well, actually, the word privacy isn't in the Constitution. The Bill of Rights does guarantee free speech and protects us from unreasonable searches and seizures, but for the most part, this has been interpreted to mean protecting us from government, not from an employer. There's a difference because we have just one government. We must obey its laws. With employers, we have a choice. We could quit. As a result, employment in most states is governed by a legal principle called employment at will. That basically means employers can fire or not hire us for most any reason, as long as it's not race, religion, sex, age, a handicap, or anything that lawmakers have specifically excluded.
Tell St. Peter... And while it may be legal for employers to set rules about all kinds of off-duty behaviors, the most common restriction is, well, you just have to look at the classifieds. A recent survey found 6,000 companies now refuse to hire smokers.
This is CNN Evening.
One of the first to establish such a policy was Ted Turner's Turner Broadcasting System.
Ted's basic policy was to have a smoke-free company. He didn't have...
Turner's office told us to talk to Vice President Bill Shaw.
It saved us on hospitalization, medical costs. He just thought with smoking being, you know, bad for the employee, bad for the environment, passive smoke, that he just wanted a totally smoke-free company and a...
But that's all about work. You're going into what they do at home.
If you smoke, whether you're at work or at your home, you're still smoking. You're still causing damage to your body, and Ted felt like it would be a much healthier and happier employee if you did not smoke.
Some CNN employees tell us they simply lied to get hired. They and lots of others smoke on the sneak.
Ever fired anyone?
We've never fired anyone. We've had a couple of people who elected to leave the company rather than to stop smoking.
You assume...
At other companies, employees have not left so willingly.
Why was I offensive? How did that affect anybody in the office?
Ann Graff worked in the accounting department of TCI, a company in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Ann knew TCI had a no-smoking rule.
So you assumed the rule was no smoking in the office?
That was my understanding.
And that part you obeyed? You never smoked in the office?
No. I didn't smoke on the property.
What'd you do at lunchtime?
I left for lunch.
And when she left, she smoked in the car.
The way I understood it, you leave for lunch, you're not paid for that hour, so I would think that's my time.
But then, one day, when she returned from her lunch break, her supervisors smelled her clothing.
She just asked me if I'd been smoking at lunch, which I said yes. Now, at that point, I guess I could have said no, you know, and lied and kept my job.
Isn't it creepy, the idea of somebody coming back from lunch and being sniffed?
Well, I'm sensitive to smoke, and
the president of TCI says he wanted the rule because he's allergic to tobacco smoke.
What happens to you if you're exposed to smoke?
Well, depending on the length and how much smoke it is, over a period of time, I will start sneezing. Eyes will get red, and I'll feel very uncomfortable, almost like getting a cold.
Did this ever happen around Ann Graff?
Not around Ann, no, it didn't. Could have, but it didn't.
That didn't matter, he says. She had broken the rules.
Shouldn't it be just the work that counts?
Well, that's really just part of it. We feel that the work is very important. Honoring commitments to TCI is also very important.
He offered to send Ann to a stop-smoking clinic. Only when she refused did he fire her.
I don't think that they have the right to tell me what I can and cannot do away from the office when I'm not being paid by them.
Suppose you were an alcoholic. Would they have a right not to hire you then?
If it interfered with my job duties, I suppose that they would.
Suppose it didn't.
Then no, I don't.
Anything away from the job, she says, is none of the boss's business. I can see her point. I mean, what are you doing at home right now? Anything the boss might not like? When you think about it this way, It's reasonable to say we need laws to protect us from this. But it's more complicated than that because we've already given up some privacy. For example, we allow employers to give drug tests. Suppose you snorted cocaine at home. Would they have a right to fire you for that?
Cocaine is another question because it is not a legal activity.
Kate Watson is Ann's attorney.
Smoking cigarettes is okay.
Suppose she had several speeding tickets. That's illegal.
Speeding tickets do not rise to the level of cocaine use for most employees.
She says these issues should be decided by lawsuits or new laws. Employers like Bill Downs are nervous about having to pay for that. But on this day, he got good news. A state court dismissed Ann's suit, saying Bill had the right to fire her.
We have rights also, and it has to be a balance. Being a non-smoker, I hope the balance swings a little bit towards non-smoking.
Still, what the court said he could do then, he may not do now. That's because after Ann lost her job, legislators here in New Mexico passed what they call a Privacy Act. It says it's illegal for an employer to fire someone or even not to hire them because they smoke on their own time.
20 other states recently passed similar laws. Now, much of the lobbying for the laws and the suing over this issue is being funded by, well, I'll let you learn about it the way I learned it.
Who's paying for the suit?
It was just an innocent question, but it caused lots of whispering from the lawyer.
You're not paying for it?
Do you know who's paying for it?
No.
This awkwardness went on another minute until finally she explained that the bills are being paid by the tobacco lobby.
So the Tobacco Institute is assisting me.
The Tobacco Institute says it helps pay for these lawsuits, not to promote smoking, but because this is a crucial privacy issue. They also support legislators who propose privacy laws. Opponents of the new laws say all these lawsuits and new rules will just make it tougher for American companies to compete.
And we don't need new laws, they say, because the competition of the market will prevent abuses. Employers with restrictive policies will have to pay more to hire their ideal worker. That'll create opportunities for smokers and others. While the lawmakers debate, some companies have found a compromise. They simply charge employees they consider high risk more for health insurance. At U-Haul, for example, employees who smoke or chew tobacco or weigh too much must pay $10 extra per month. Many other companies are trying out similar policies. In these cases, the cost of the risk is paid by the risky. However, some employers say they shouldn't have to compromise. Bill Downs says this isn't about the cost of insurance. It's about his freedom to do what he wants with his company.
Some people would say that your home is your castle. You have no business telling people what they can do in their homes.
Well, this is true. We feel that we cannot tell people what they can do in their homes. If people like to smoke at home, that's certainly up to them.
But you're telling her she can't smoke at home.
No, we're not. We're saying if she works for TCI, we prefer she did not smoke. She could work for somebody else and smoke at home.
Ann Graff is smoking at home these days. She hasn't found another job. Daniel Wynn has found a new job. And so has Janice Bowen. No restrictions here. Now she smokes at work and at home.
I can see why these people might want laws passed, can't you?
I see why they want them, but I sympathize with the people who say that the laws do more harm than good. How can American companies compete if every time they make a personnel decision, they have to consult a labor lawyer to wade through the laws? Also, these behaviors have costs. I mean, smoking costs money. So who should pay? If the employer must treat everyone the same, you're really saying non-smokers must subsidize smokers. Is that fair?
So ABC should be able to fire you for eating too much junk food.
If that's their policy, I think that's their right. They should fire me. It's their money.
Sounds like a libertarian view colliding with itself, but very interesting. Thank you, John.